there was a time where I thought that I couldn't do certain things, that I was incapable of doing what, I like, oh, I can't do that. That's just, it's just not true. What I found out myself over the course of my life, over the course of all my experiences, is that if I put my mind to it, I can achieve anything. I can do anything. It might take time, but I can do it. And I don't feel like that's just me. I feel like every human being has that in them. It's just, you just have to want to do it, and just have to put the work in to make it happen.
The people that surround you are what makes you successful. Your experiences are what makes you successful. Your life skills that you acquire are what makes you successful. And if you do all those things right, yes, like money will follow that, but I really think that it's all about like surrounding yourself with the right people and vibes, and hard work, and don't let your pride or ego get in the way. These are all things that help you get to that level.
Here we are with Rob Chafin. So for everyone out there listening, in addition to being the drummer of the Werks, Rob runs the Werk Out Festival. He's one of the founders of the Summit Music Hall, owner of Crunchwerks, Barefuzz manager. Rob, man, so glad to have you on here. So stoked for the workout coming up. So many great bands on the lineup. Start this off. I want to hear you talk to me about your approach and your thought process putting the lineup together, and like what you're thinking when curating this lineup.
Yeah, first of all, Cam, thank you so much for having me. A huge fan of Weird Music Podcasts and all that you guys do. So the Werk Out Festival, this is our 12th year doing it now, and we're so excited to be back at Legend Valley. A lot goes into the curation of this lineup, and first and foremost, as the Werks, we're lucky to have a lot of friends in the music industry who are incredible musicians. So, we put an emphasis on making sure our friends join our party. Outside of that, we like to look at a lot of great up and coming talent that's out there. We like to pride ourselves in trying to find those acts like on the verge of breaking out. For example, 2013, we had Grizz. We've had Grammatic in the past, Pigeons playing ping pong right before they blew up. And then now look at Lawrence, look at Andy Frasco, look at La Special, look at all these acts that are absolutely crushing it right now.
So getting to throw the workout every year, being like the community facilitator here in Central Ohio, what's your favorite part about putting on the workout?
Yeah, like you hit the nail on the head. It's the community. Like there's a lot of people who come every year, and it's almost like a family reunion in a sense. And whether it's the artists, the musical artists, the visual artists, the fans, it's just that you feel that family vibe there. And for us too, it's all about the community and that collaboration that comes with it, whether it's musical sit-ins, and the same goes for visual artists too. We like to have murals and have a big like group effort. We like to use that strategy.
So jumping a little bit to the side here, with the workout, with the Summit, you're a booking agent, you're also a band manager. I'd love to hear you talk about like how you evaluate up and coming bands.
There's a lot going into when you scout like an up and coming act, and you look at like what are they doing right, what are they doing wrong, not necessarily wrong, but what could they do better. And it comes down first to like the core values as a band, or any artist in particular. Like I like to say, you need to want it more than water. You need to be willing to make sacrifices that it takes to get to the next level. You're going to miss a lot of birthdays and weddings, and a lot of things because you're on the road, or doing what, you got to put that priority first. And a lot of acts aren't willing to do that. And I see them suffer because of that. And, heavy touring is not for everyone. It takes a special group of people to endure the hardships of the road. And so, at first I look for like, are they serious? Are they down for like the hard work it takes to be a touring act? And second, there's like an it factor, which is a lot of it has to come down to music or stage presence, or a little bit of both. Like, do you have what it takes to like wow the audience? Or are you, and a lot of it also comes down to the work ethic. Are you willing to put in the work to get to that level? Some of it's natural, some of it takes a lot of hard work, and I see a lot of natural talent kind of fall by the wayside because they don't put the hard work in. So it takes a little bit of both. And then, lastly, I look for like that humbleness and that willingness to learn and to, do the right thing. Because a lot of people get that ego, and which always gets in the way. And, that pride, that hubris always is a downfall to most people. So, and I look for those three things and, in any up and coming artist.
Mm. So Rob, we just had Hauser on as well. For everyone listening, this is a 2-part episode with Rob and Hauser. And I asked Chris, I was like, man, you spent all this time in a band with Rob. Like, what do you admire most about Rob as a bandmate? And he went right to like your go-getterness and your determination and just like always crushing it. And I want to ask you, like, where do you feel like that aspect of your personality comes from? Like, where do you draw your work ethic from?
That's a good question. I was blessed to be raised by 2 coaches, and they were both teachers as well. So I feel like that kind of translated to the work ethic. But also it's as an entrepreneur, because every musician is an entrepreneur. It takes that hard work, it takes that sacrifice, like I mentioned before, and you gotta seize the day and always be on your top of your game and get better and better every day. So I'm doing this new thing called the 1% marginal gains, which is this theory where if you slowly make small changes for the better, whether in business or life, like that accumulates over time to massive gains. So it's all about just finding small steps at a time and improving your efficiency or whatever it is to get that next level for sure. And definitely shout out to Hauser too. Outside of being one of the best guitar players in the world, he's one of the most humble guys in the world too. And like I brought that up earlier, that's what it takes to really break through. And you got to remove the ego and let the music speak for itself sometimes.
What do you think are the most important things for bands that are just starting to get on tour to focus on?
It's another good question. Obviously the music is the number one, because that's what you are. You're a musician. You need to make sure that you're in the shed and you're practicing as much as possible and you're rehearsing as much as possible. The music has to be there first, before you can even really start stretching your legs from a touring aspect. On top of that, it's online presence and just your presence in general, making sure that that's on point, because you got to be able to market and promote. And they say your network is your net worth, right? So you got to make sure that you're always networking. Asking questions when you're an up and coming act is really important, because there's so much to take in, so much to learn. And don't waste an opportunity talking to someone who's been there before, because you can learn so much from them. And arguably one of the most important things outside of the 3 things I said is reliable transportation. Having the ability to be able to travel to gigs is one of the most important things. And as the Werks, we went through a lot of conversion vans over the years, old conversion vans that broke down in Nebraska, and we go get towed to what looked like a scene from Twister to get it fixed. Stuff like that happens all the time. It wasn't until a mentor of mine told me that reliable transportation thing. That was when I was like, you know what? We need a brand new van. I'm getting a loan. Let's do it. And then once we did that, we really, the last thing you want to do is break down the side of the road when you're trying to get to a gig. So
can you talk to me about some of the things you think a lot of other festivals might like overlook, and kind of how you learn from other festivals' mistakes when you throw the work out?
That's why I always like going, looking at everything at the festival, not just from the front end, what the audience sees, but the back end side of things too. Like, some of the biggest things are understaffing an event where you try to cut corners, and especially on security or medical, and those are just no-nos to me. Outside of that, I would say the lineups, the workout, try to make it as diverse as possible and include some, like example for like Lawrence, who probably wouldn't be playing jam festivals necessarily, but we wanted to go outside the box and bring some new types of music. And like a lot of people told me like they've never heard of them until they saw them on the workout lineup. And I feel like that's really important to broaden the horizons, especially at a music festival, because I feel like people want to learn about new acts too. This year we made a really big point to like include a lot of women-led acts like Lawrence, like Doom Flamingo, like Melt, like Couch, Hannah Wickland, the former Turquoise singers, and Stevie Wonder. We want to really include that female presence this year more than ever. And I feel like a lot of festivals should be doing that as well.
How do you think your work with the various ventures you're involved with has caused you to grow as a person?
When you're like owning multiple businesses, you kind of learn something new every day. When I was transitioning from just being a musician to throwing events, that was when I really kind of started seeing this whole other world of business and spreadsheets and management side of things. And that really was a turning point for me. Outside of that though, it was during the pandemic where I feel like I really kind of spread my wings when, dealing with the hardships of owning a music venue, the Summit, and being closed and trying to figure out what to do. We ended up opening Crunchwerks, the restaurant next door to the Summit. And I never thought in a million years I would own a restaurant, but here we are. And just learning all of that side of things just really been an eye-opening experience. But it's all about thinking on your feet and pivoting. Everyone pivoted during the pandemic. Like for example, at Legend Valley, we threw those drive-in shows, and then it turned to pod shows, and all these things. But it's a sum of all the parts. Outside of being the drummer in the Werks, I feel like all these other ventures and managing bands like Barefuzz as well has really kind of made me a more well-rounded person, but also, believe it or not, a more well-rounded musician, because I'm able to see the music industry from so many different angles now, and to see so much music too, where I feel like it only helps me understand the drums and my role in the Werks even more. So it's pretty interesting to tie everything together like that.
And the way your whole past unfolded, what do you think it is specifically about music that caused you to devote your whole life to it?
That is a really good question. It's I had a moment before I went to college where I was like really getting into classic rock super hard, and like I just like spent every day just playing drums. Then I get to college, and I went to University of Dayton, and was staying in the dorms, and I ended up finding a bunch of musicians there too who they were really into jam bands, and so I didn't really know what a jam band was at the time, but they got me into Fish and the Grateful Dead and String Cheese and all that my freshman year, and I was like, oh wow, there's this whole new type of music that I just didn't really know about, and really focused on improvisation, and like I kind of had that classic rock vibes, but like took it to a whole different place. And so we ended up setting up a drum set in the chapel, my drum set in the chapel, and then we ended up moving it down to this place that was called the Meeting Room, in the basement of Stewart Hall at UD. And then that someone scratched out part of the E on one of the E's, so it said the Melting Room. And those Melting Room jams, that really kind of like made me like be like, wow, like this is like what music should be, like these jamming improv, like, and like it was like all these musicians from the dorm would come in like adding their flair, like different types. So like you name a violin, or like like keyboards came in. That's kind of like how I met Dave Bartoletti, the original keyboards for the Werks, was through those Melting Room jams. And that was a moment where I was like, what, like this is something that I want to pursue. And I changed my major from business to communication management and music performance. So I was able to take a bunch of drum classes and vocal classes, guitar classes at UD, and like Jim Leslie, one of the best drum instructors in the world. I was just lucky to have him as my drum instructor one-on-one every semester I had. He's like a jazz cat, but he like taught me a well-rounded, and I feel like I went to a really good music school because of him and the other professors there. And then I went and saw Fish a bunch, and that really opened my eyes. I remember, Cam, I took you to your first Fish show, so it was good to see your reaction to that. It was after that I'm like, wow, like they started in college too, and like they did it, like I can do it. And I really just kind of believed in myself, and and my bandmates. And that's when I met Hauser and Chuck, and that's when we started the Werks in the basement of my college my college house at Medford Street. And it really just all started from basement jam sessions. But yeah, I mean, I think it all comes back to that like moment when you're like practicing to like a Zeppelin album or something, or like whatever, and you like close your eyes and you feel like you're like on stage with them, and just you have that like, I want to do this, I want to be a musician. And and then here we are.
Here we are. Rob, man, starting to wrap up here. Final question for you. Can you talk to me about how for you in your career, in your life, how success and fulfillment are like different?
People look at success a lot of different ways, where it's like, what makes someone successful? And people obviously look to the number one thing. It's money. Like, oh yeah, they're making a bunch of money, they must be really successful. But a lot of people who make a lot of money aren't really some of them, a lot of them are happy, but some of them aren't happy. And money isn't necessarily everything when you're looking at success. A lot of musicians always look at it like, and I can't wait to get to the end of my journey, because that's when the success will be, at the end of the journey. Well, no, it's about the journey. It's about the road it takes for you to get to the end. That's what it's all about, and that's where the success is. Because like I said earlier, your network is your net worth, right? So like all of those people I've met along the way of my journey here, who are in my life and have like added value to my life, like you and Katie, these are all things that I look at as success, where it's like you're the people that surround you are what makes you successful. Your experiences are what makes you successful. Your life skills that you acquire are what makes you successful. And if you do all those things right, yes, like money will follow that. But I really think that it's all about like surrounding yourself with the right people and vibes, and hard work, and making the right decisions, and being a good person and staying humble. Don't let your pride or ego get in the way. These are all things that help you get to that level.
Rob, man, so glad to have you here. Can't wait for the workout, and just, epic thank you on behalf of Central Ohio. Like, I'm not even from here, and this place, it's a freaking awesome place to live. A lot because of the things you bring to this part of the country. So, man, huge shout out for you and all you do. Thank you, man. And if you're listening and you haven't tried that crunch, you go and get you that beef crunch. You might see them at Legend Valley.
Yeah, the Crunchwerks will be slinging at the Workout Legend Valley here. So if you haven't tried Crunchwerks yet, it's like an upscale Taco Bell. We'd come on down to Crunchwerks.
Yeah. Well, all right, y'all. Get those workout tickets. We got a link here in the description. Much love, Rob.
Hey, thank you so much, Cam. Appreciate y'all. See you soon.
So here we are. We got Chris Hauser from the Werks. Chris, man, so glad to have you on here, dude.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Cam. It's good to see you.
Hauser, to start this off, for everyone out there listening, the Werks are a staple of Ohio music. If you're listening to this from outside Ohio, maybe you don't know that. But over the past few years, there's been less Werks shows as Hauser here has become a father. And yeah, Chris, I want to ask you, like, do you feel like playing less shows causes each one to like mean more?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It makes the shows mean a lot more. We only have so much time, so we want to make the best of that while we're on stage. It also, it's made us all the band members really appreciate each other's company and contributions on stage. I feel like it's really helped us open up big time on jams and improvised sections. It's made the shows a lot more powerful, in my opinion. But I mean, we're at a place right now, where it's not like we're not really sweating mistakes. We're at least I'm not even thinking about music like that. Um, you know, every wrong note, or the note that you didn't mean to hit could be a starting off point, for a new tangent, a new path. That's I think we've all been following that mindset for the most part.
I love that. No such thing as mistakes.
Yeah, just keep going.
So Chris, jump into the side a little bit. How do you feel like, these past few years becoming a father, how do you feel like that's caused you to grow?
Oh man, I've responsibility wise, I've ended up with a lot on my plate. And that's been a great thing. The old saying, pressure makes diamonds, or sink or swim. I've there's definitely been plenty of pressure. When we first took a step back, I got a job at a steel processing facility doing secondary steel, and completely reinvented myself, like doing the stuff I'm doing right now. If you told me 3 years ago that I'd be doing it, I would have told you you're crazy, absolutely crazy. But I've taken that step, started with that job, excelled. I became one of the better operators in the plant, and now I just took a promotion to an inside sales position, same company. So so like my goals shifted a lot. I still I still love music and just appreciate every second with the guitar and with my guys, but it's not the main priority anymore. It's the release, which has made music so much better.
Yeah.
And the appreciation has been heightened a lot as well. But as far as growth goes, I proved to myself that I could totally reinvent myself, and that I actually am very good at learning. Yeah, just this whole experience, shifting gears, has given me a lot of confidence in myself, and my wife as well. She's finishing up nursing school, but we're keeping things going, and that's that pressure, and it's really it's helped out. It was a difficult step to take. Being a father has taught me a lot as well, to say the least. A lot about myself and a lot about my family.
We've spoken briefly about this in the past, that you didn't necessarily learn guitar, like quote unquote, by the book.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to take me back to how you learned guitar.
I had a couple of teachers starting off. I had already learned how to fiddle around and make noises on my own and kind of figure out, like, oh, this sounds right, and just kind of almost started to teach myself guitar before I ever took a lesson. And that first guitar teacher recognized that, like, oh, I can teach you some riffs here, play this will, and that really, I play Layla really easily, and like I'd only been playing for so long, and that really kept me in it. But the second guitar teacher, he was just like, he tried to teach me a little bit of theory, and I was distracted with football, and at that time I was in like 7th grade. And I did not do the homework. I came back to the next lesson the next week, and he's like, you know what, just give me a tape of songs you want to learn, and I'll teach them to you. And then when I got into high school, I got in with this guitar teacher, Dave Ferrara, at McCutcheon Studios in Centerville, Ohio. He taught me how to sound it out, and he taught me, and that was like, he didn't really teach me so much theory, but more or less mechanics, and how to recognize certain sounds. So that's very much how I ended up teaching myself. I took lessons from him for about a year. He showed me some classical style stuff. I didn't really pick up on the reading music. It was just it didn't really click for me. So we didn't follow the classical path very long. So like when I'm taking my approach to to the solos and everything, I'm looking more for a feeling rather than theory. I'll strike a note and then I'll know where to go from there, more or less. It's really, really all about feeling. I try to turn my mind off and to let the music and just the kind of the feeling take over. And it ends up being kind of spastic, and that's what ends up coming out of me. But when I got my head back and my eyes closed, that's very much what's going on. Really just trying to let go. I try not to follow too many rules, and just very much go by feeling.
Is that something that you've kind of had to work on, letting go of an agenda of like what you're trying to do and just kind of like listen to your intuition? Has that been like an ongoing conflict or challenge?
Yes. Yeah. You can almost tell the guitar players that that went to school, they hit certain notes. It's like, oh, I'm like, what's that? That's cool. And I don't know what that is. And trying to take the anymore, trying to take the time to research that is it's just it always just slips my mind. And I'll go into a jam, having I want to sound a certain way, and then I'll hit a certain note and just kind of like, oh, you know what, we're gonna go this way.
So you mentioned like learning yem, right? And with our favorite musicians, tension and release is such a prevalent element of this kind of music. And I'm curious to hear from you, like, what do you think it is specifically about tension and release that can be so powerful?
I love that's like my favorite thing. Back when I was much younger and much more experimental, I'd find myself pretty tripped out at at a Fish show. That was my bread and butter there. But just the way they would, it was almost musical confusion. But the tension, it's you're just like waiting for it, and the release, it gets my heart going still when I don't party at shows anymore. I'm very California sober. But it gets my heart racing. And that's the power of music. It can create confusion, like what's going to happen next, I'm nervous. And then then there's a major resolve. It's like, oh my god, like, yes, that's everything's better. And it's crazy. It's from sound, sound waves, making you get all emotional. It's incredible. And not even words, just notes. That's the power of music.
Have you ever just like allowed yourself to go down a rabbit hole of what's happening in the mind of the listener when they're getting their mind blown?
I try to often. Sometimes I'll pick someone out in the crowd that's easy to pick out, and like just clearly just goggle-eyed, just staring straight at you, just lock in on, like, yeah, all right, like what can we do? Sometimes like see a super drunk guy out there, someone who's just barely hanging on, like, oh, let's give him the tension. Let's give him the tension. I saw this at Legend Valley Goose. Like literally, I got my kid right here. I've got this 400-pound guy who's about 6'8" right next to me. Like just like they were in a jam, and it was the tension and release. And seriously, like the tension, he'd start getting wobbly, and then they'd release, and he'd come to. And I had to ask this guy, like, you need some water? Are you okay? And he was just gone. But that, if I find someone in the crowd that's barely hanging on, I'll try and help them over the edge.
That is your job, isn't it?
Is it? Sometimes I'll try and do that, and then someone that I don't see is really feeling it and wants to come up on stage. That's not okay. Even though it's happened numerous times. Another way that music can influence the mind, the mind of the listeners. And it'd be better if I could if I could lock in on those people, and then realize that maybe it's time to calm down a little bit. Let's hit a breakdown here. Stop pushing the energy up so far that these people are just totally inspired to come up and say something on the microphone.
In this episode, we also have Rob here joining us for another segment. For everyone out there listening, Rob Chafin, drummer of the Werks. I want to talk to you about what it's been like being in a band with Rob over these years. I'm sure you've seen a lot of growth, a lot of the different sides of his personality. And I'm curious, what do you admire about Rob from like a bandmate's perspective?
Sheer determination. That guy, I don't think he knows the word stop. He's if quite honestly, I mean, if it wasn't for Rob, I don't think the Werks would have ever left Ohio. He was the one that really got us out going places. Started spearheading, booking shows out of town. With he started networking at the first little, and every chance he got. That's always been his niche. Where the rest of us were all just kind of like to keep to ourselves for the most part. He's a go-getter. The growth from that guy, it's just incredible. The sky's the limit for him, and I'm quite certain that's the way he sees it. I mean, I met him when he was in college, and I never went to college, but I would have been out by the time I met him. And we're just jamming, just playing, just from playing music. That's how we met. So I think the first time we played with him was it was a party on Trinity Street at UD, and he just jumped up and started playing. That turned into the Werks with an O. And then, very shortly after that, we realized that if we changed it to an E, it would pop up a lot higher on the Google lists. So none of us knew anything about anything when we started, the music politics or etiquette, stage etiquette, travel etiquette, any of that stuff. We just didn't know any of it. I think the biggest lesson to learn is just to not stop. Slow down. Don't stop. I don't think he slowed down. He's just kind of sped up. He just kept on going, and good for him. He's killing it.
Beyond Rob's determination, like looking at how your paths have entangled, how do you feel like you've grown by being a bandmate?
Once again, just keep going. We've been through some shit as a band. And I would imagine that every other band has gone through a lot too. And, I don't consider Rob a friend at this point. I consider him a brother. Some of the shit we've been through, it's just incredible. Like, been through some, amazing experiences. We played Red Rocks together. That was really cool. It was during the day. I don't give a fuck. That was awesome. Like, that was a dream come true. And we by sticking together, by recognizing and respecting each other, we've stayed together, and we've made many dreams come true. And we still we have further goals. But there's we've certainly, we know, like, I know Rob's personality like the back of my hand, and he knows me like this, just the same. Like, literally, we've grown up together. We became adults together. And we really we've been through some really, really, really hard times, and that's just made our bond stronger, without a doubt. But even like musically, like we know each other's strengths, and we try to nurture that, and with songwriting, and just the everyday anymore.
Well, man, cannot wait for the workout coming up. That's gonna be fucking awesome. If you listen this far, ticket link below. If you don't have those yet, get on it. Chris, starting to wrap up. Final question for you here. If there's one takeaway, one lesson from your story, your journey, what you're all about, what you've been through, What would you say that is?
One takeaway, huh? Man, you know, there was a time where I thought that I couldn't do certain things, that I was incapable of doing what, I've like, oh, I can't do that. That's just it's just not true. What I found out myself over the course of my life, over the course of all my experiences, is that if I put my mind to it, I can achieve anything. I can do anything. It might take time, but I can do it. And I don't feel like that's just me. I feel like every human being has that in them. It's just you just have to want to do it, and just have to put the work in to make it happen. Um, yeah, I struggled with guitar for the first months of playing guitar, and I just I put it down. I put it down for like 3 months after I had started when I was 12 years old. Um, and then a few months went by, and I picked it back up, and then I never really looked back. Um, and I've yeah, I mean, I've been through some crazy things, made some bad decisions. But if I hadn't, I wouldn't take any of that back, because that's what left me here in this spot right now. But yeah, if there's one thing, anything is possible. Like, we as humans are capable of anything we put our minds to. I believe that.
Amen. Chris Hauser, man, thank you for coming on the show. Fucking love you, man. Hell yeah. Well, alrighty, y'all. Take care.
All right, we'll see you at the workout.
Well, if you made it this far, thank you for tuning in. Big shout out to our sponsor, Thrax. Check them out if you're looking for some incredibly high quality CBD and THC gummies. Also, big shout out to J&J Distribution. Retailers, check out their brands Kush Burst, Death by Gummy Bears, and Compassionate Buds. Also, big shout out to SEM Tickets. If you're throwing events and you're looking for a reliable ticketing source that's well priced, look no further. Got links in the description. Much love, y'all.